Welcome to the channel, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Scientology Spy Files. In today's episode, we are going to cover a pretty decent sized document. To get you up to speed, it's May of 2006. Scientology has been spying on myself and my family for several months now. They've been collecting our garbage. They've stolen our phone records or purchased our phone records from someone at the phone company. They have spies that are friends of mine that are telling the spy wing of Scientology called the Office of Special Affairs. They're telling these individuals at the Office of Special Affairs information about myself and my family. And all of this is being funneled and reported up to Scientology management officials, and then ultimately it's being forwarded to the leader of Scientology, David Miscavige, chairman of the board, Religious Technology Center, Captain David Miscavige. And so this has been going on for several months. And now what has happened, as early on it was reported to David Miscavige that this person who had been posting documents and different stories about what was occurring within Scientology, David Miscavige physically assaulting people and people being mentally and physically tortured at the international headquarters of Scientology. This person posting under the name of Blown for Good or BFG. They were trying to identify and isolate who this person is. And this is the culmination of those efforts. The documents that we're going to cover today. They've now decided they do know who the person is. And first we're going to read a report that was going from the Office of Special Affairs to International Scientology, to the management in Gilman Hot Springs, California. And then we're going to read a proposal that went from international management to David Miscavige on how to deal with this situation. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Let's put this right. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. So this is the cover page. Now, the reason they do it like this, guys, is if a document is found, then in a file, then it is not connected to other documents to say where it went or who it was to. So they do a cover note. And in this cover note, you can see it's from the way these works, the way these documents work is that whoever is the post on the bottom and whoever the post is on the top, that's how you can tell who sent it and who it was to. So this is from the Deputy Commanding Officer External of the Office of Special Affairs International. That's in Los Angeles at 6331 Hollywood Boulevard. I want to say it's on the 10th or the 11th floor, maybe both. And it is to the Watchdog Committee member for the Office of Special Affairs, which at this time may have been Mike Rinder and other people. It was kind of loosely being held by multiple people. And they've CC'd, a carbon copy goes to the commanding officer of the Office of Special Affairs International. And it says, read cover memo. Dear sir, attached is the cover memo that goes with the pack. Much love, Linda. All Scientologists sign ML. Much love. Even though there's not a lot of love. Okay, so that's the cover. And now here's the actual document. Okay, here we go. Confidential, eyes only, May 13th, 2006. Memo, Marc Headley. Summary, Mark Blue from Gold. Gold refers to Golden Era Productions. That's the media organization that produces all of the propaganda for Scientology internationally. Marc Headley blew from gold in early January 2005, the morning after he was found to have been embezzling church funds, approximately $15,000, by selling church audiovisual equipment on eBay with no approval and transferring the money into his personal account. We've covered this on several occasions. I had full approval, and I could only have my personal account because they don't allow you to have credit cards if you're not in the purchasing department of Scientology. The church recovered approximately $13,000 of this money, and Headley had spent about $700 for personal use, shipping, and eBay fees. The remainder was charges for doing transactions on eBay. The embezzlement was not reported to the police at the time because Scientology never reports anything to the police at any time, even if a crime had occurred, but carries a 3-year statute of limitations. Okay, so a little bit of backdrop is that early on, David Miscavige was told that this person posting as blown for good was me, but he didn't believe that, and he actually chastised and derided the people who said that. And so now the Office of Special Affairs has got to put together a really, really good sales job on explaining that it is in fact Marc Headley. So that's what this is all about. The embezzlement was not reported at the time to the police, but carries a 3-year statute of limitations. A few weeks after Marc's departure, his wife Claire Headley blew and went to Kansas City, Missouri, where Marc's father lives. Both were later declared as they did not return. Now, this is a very good point. They detail in this document that I escaped, then my wife escaped, and then we were declared suppressives. So we hadn't spoken out about Scientology. We hadn't done anything to speak ill of Scientology. We were declared suppressive people because we escaped and refused to come back. And that is exactly what happened. We escaped, and they tried to get us back, and we refused. And eventually they said, okay, good, you're declared a suppressive person. They like to spin this story a different way on their hate sites, who is marcheadley.com and whatever other hate websites they have set up about me. They like to spin it as we were expelled and we were kicked out of Scientology, even though their own internal spy documents detail that we were declared suppressive persons after escaping and not returning. Marc returned to the LA area around August 2006, and Claire arrived back shortly after. This is faulty information, and they just didn't have good intel up until August. That doesn't even actually make sense because it's May 13th as they're writing this. So I think they mean August 2005. You will see in a lot of these documents that they get things mixed up every once in a while. Anyway, that's obviously a typo, and that's meant to be 2005. Marc returned to the LA area around August 2005, and Claire arrived back shortly thereafter. They currently live in Burbank. Claire had a baby, a boy named Blank, in February. Reports of Marc spreading N theta. Okay, N theta is anything. N theta is a Scientology word N theta is a Scientology word that means anything that will upset a Scientologist is interbulated theta. It basically means Scientology bad news. Well, that's an easy way to say it. Since returning to LA, Marc has had contact with various staff, field Scientologists, and other declared ex-int base staff. The reports from these contacts show that despite Claire's assertions that she is working on her A to E steps, Marc Headley is no longer a Scientologist and he has turned enemy. Okay, A to E steps are the steps that any Scientologist that's declared a suppressive person is required to perform and submit to Scientology that they've completed these steps in order to return into the Scientology community and be allowed to talk to Scientology members, their family or friends again. I do like this, that they knew right off the bat that I was no longer a Scientologist and I have turned enemy. They got that right. The specific contacts are, and then it goes into, I'm going to kind of abbreviate these because they love to cut and paste, and they're going to mention a lot of these over and over again. So I'll skim through them on the first time, but if we hit them again later, then I'll just say that was as covered above. August 2005 report that Marc ran into Power Coleman at a trade show at the LA Convention Center and offered him a job at the company Marc was working at in the time. This is true. And if any of you want to know who Power Coleman is, there is a story about Power Coleman in my book, Blown for Good, Behind the Iron Curtain of Scientology. And it might be worth the purchase of the book alone, that one story. December 2005 report from Katie Paquette stating that she ran into Marc in a parking lot in LA and he nattered to her about why he and Claire left, why some people have gotten busted, that people at the base couldn't be married if they were in different organizations, and other similar points of, it says BPR, that stands for black PR. Any information that's bad news about Scientology is considered false and labeled black PR or black propaganda. And this story is funny because actually I did run into this girl, Katie Paquette. It wasn't in a parking lot. She was having her hair done at a very fancy hair salon right around the corner from my house. I was just getting a haircut next door at the barber shop. Katie Paquette was a Sea Org member, which it's frowned upon for Sea Org members to just be out in the wild and getting their hair did and stuff like that. That's super inappropriate for a Sea Org member. And when Katie saw me walk by the hair salon, I noticed her and I kind of gave her a weird look like, wow, why would a Sea Org member be getting her hair done at a beauty salon in Toluca Lake? And then I went in and got my hair cut. And when I came out from the barber, she was there. She thought that I was still in the Sea organization. She didn't know that I wasn't in the Sea Org. So she was like, sir. And I was like, oh, I just happened to be down here. I'm getting a haircut. And then she provided to dish on a bunch of things that she shouldn't have dished on. And then when she was done dishing, I then told her, hey, by the way, I'm not in the Sea Org and I'm not even in Scientology anymore. And then so after finding that out, she had to write a report on me, but then she kind of twisted the facts so she wouldn't get in trouble. And I think it's funny that that's how it ended up getting to OSA, that report, that maybe she wrote a report, but pretty sure she didn't tell them exactly how it all went down. Okay, now we're going to go to the next page, actually, because I can see the document that you have. There it is. Okay, good. So that has that Katie Paquette story at the end of it. February 2006 report from Marcy Sargent about Marc's call to her stating that her son Trevor at Gold was doing badly, was in doubt, and that he, Marc, would be willing to get him a job and put him up if he ever left. This is funny because I did actually do exactly that. And the funny thing is that kid did end up escaping, and he's now lives out in the wild. He's still involved with Scientology, but he did escape, and he was doing badly, and he was in doubt. And obviously that all worked out because he's not there anymore. April 2006 email to Kevin Popovich in which Marc stated that he and Claire were not on lines anymore. In Scientology, if you're on lines, that means you're doing a course or you're getting auditing. And good Scientologists, good active Scientologists are considered good if they're on lines. If you're a Scientologist and you're not getting out auditing or you're not getting counseling, for Scientology, that means something is wrong because otherwise you would be doing either of those things. And so if you're considered off lines or no longer on lines, that means you're not a Scientologist anymore for the most part. Okay, now BFG postings. Okay, so now they're going to cover, they're essentially going to cover these different, they've analyzed the postings on the internet from this BFG guy. and how they were able to determine who it was based on things that the poster known as Blown for Good said, and then match them up with somebody else. On February 13, 2006, an unidentified person started posting information, rumors, and end theta about the int base on the Clambake message board under the screen name Blown for Good, BFG. Between February 13th to May 13th, BFG has posted a total of 28 messages on Clambake. He posted he posted a message on the XSO. He posted on message. Obviously they don't know how to speak of the English. He posted on message on the XSO message board. I think they meant to say he also posted on another board that was called the XSO message board. And I think that is what it was called. Or the ex-Scientologist message board or something like that. BFG's messages on Clambake were copied by NetSPs and posted to alt.religion.scientology. Okay, so somebody's, I love it how they call them NetSPs. So SPs on the internet were copying my posts and then posting them on another message board. Based on clues that came up in the BFG messages, Marc Headley was determined to be the author. The key clues from his postings were, by the way, guys, this has been going on since February. It's now May. So they've been trying to figure this out since February. I love that. Friggin. A search in the int data files found Marc was a common user of this word, friggin. So when I was writing these things on the internet, I was trying not to curse like a sailor, like most Sea Org members and Scientologists do as a normal routine. I was trying to not do that. So I would write friggin. And evidently I had written friggin, and any reports or any files that you create in Scientology are scanned and saved into a database, and it's called the International Data Files. You can search anything. I could search if any member of Scientology, I could search their name with a crime or a report subject or something, and I could find every single document that mentioned that person and that assault or crime or whatever and line them up. It's very scary. Scientology, they like to keep files and they like to keep documents on everybody and everything. Very detailed. So much so that they could figure out that I said friggin' more than any other Scientologist, evidently. Or from the people that were suspects. I did it more than the other ones. Pat Gualtieri, in one of the BFG posts, he states that he has known Pat since 1984. Now, this was a very heavy point of contention because in 1984, I was 11 years old. So David Miscavige thought, well, that's ridiculous. This person's posting about Pat Gualtieri and things that he was doing in the Sea Organization in the 70s and the 80s. Marc Headley was a child when those things happened, so he wouldn't have any information about that. Marc would have been 11 years old at this time. According to Marc's sister, now this, I don't know where my sister got this. This never occurred. But somehow she offered it up as the reason why it could be me. According to Marc's sister, Stephanie Headley, the family did know Pat in 1984 as they used to live in the Shangri Lodge across from CCN, and Pat used to come visit them. Okay, Pat never came to visit us. Pat was in the Sea Organization, which was across the street from where we lived. And I knew of Pat. Pat also worked at Golden Era Productions. I don't know why they didn't put this in there. Pat Gualtieri worked at Golden Era Productions, where I worked. And I knew Pat really well. And he told me tons of stories about when he was at the Celebrity Center. And that's how I knew the information. I'm not sure why they never put those pieces together, but that is how I knew. Pat Gualtieri was not visiting an 11-year-old that lived in an apartment building across from the Sea Org building that he worked at. Pat Gualtieri was an older gentleman. He was probably in his 30s or 40s in the 1980s. Okay, cage fighting. BFG speaks about cage fighting in a few posts, and we learned from Matt Blank that Marc is a serious cage fighting fan. Now, when they say cage fighting, they're just talking about UFC. I used to watch a lot of UFC in 2005 and 2006, and yeah, that's it. I used to watch UFC. I think in some document I might have mentioned, in something I posted, I might have mentioned like a jiu-jitsu move or something. I have no idea what they're talking about, but evidently UFC outed me. HD. HD stands for high definition. On March 23rd, Kirsten saw Matt Blank and asked him about BFG. Matt said that it had to be Marc, and one of the main reasons was that Blown for Good had posted about the fact that the March 13th event was going to be done in HD. Scientology had been producing broadcasts in standard definition historically, and moving to high definition would have been a big deal for them. And so the fact that I knew that they were doing it, I mentioned it. Matt said that it had to be Marc, and one of the main reasons was that BFG had posted about the fact that the March 13th was going to be done in HD. Matt had learned this from RD Blank and told Marc this right around the same time BFG posting March 5th. Matt said that Marc was the only person who he had told. And that may have been true, but I also had other people telling me information from other places. But regardless, that is another way they found out. Okay, now we're going to get to some good stuff here. Birthday Party DVD offered to Inside Edition. In an April 21st posting, BFG stated, one of my contacts at one place said that someone gave them a very sensitive video of Tom Cruise with Dave Miscavige. Anyway, Corinne Powell was on that one for about 1 minute when it was immediately whisked over to Mike Rinder to handle. Then, in the May 11th posting, BFG stated, Mike Rinder, even went so far as to tell one media outlet that they could run the story on Tom in exchange for the source of the leak, which that obviously did occur, and this was posted. Beatings. BFG has posted several times about supposed beatings that have taken place at the base and largely targets COB in these. I talk about David Miscavige assaulting people on a pretty much continual basis at the base, which has been confirmed widely and broadly by just about every single person that worked there that has spoken out about Scientology. We know that from Kirsten talking with Matt Blank that Marc repeatedly spoke about his having been beat up by COB when he first left the Sea Org. So because I had said he assaulted me, that made it true that I could be this other guy, because that other guy was talking about David Miscavige assaults as well. Okay. I have to switch the page to the beatings thing. There you go. There are also other data in the postings which Claire would have special knowledge from her former position, e.g. data about RTC staff such as MCR, that's Marty Rathbun, and that Emily Jones was married to Elon Baram. It was for some reason, it was a secret that two of David Miscavige's staff were married to each other. I think largely because David Miscavige outlawed that no one could get married at the international headquarters, but two of his staff got married to each other during that period where he basically banned anyone from getting married. Yes, David Miscavige has control of your sexual organs and activities if you are in the Sea Organization at the international headquarters. Okay, now this next section is called Headley Comm Lines. And this is important because Scientology had bought my phone records and they were buying my trash every week as well, at my residence in Burbank, California. And, if it's mentioned, if they mentioned the D line or anything like that the D line is, the code word for trash digging or trash buying. Headley Comlines. BFG brags that he has contacts to the media, and Chuck Beatty states that he feeds media contacts to BFG as well. Chuck Beatty is another ex-Scientologist that they were running operations on. Spy operations, digging through his communications, and I don't know. I know they had spies that were friends with him and reporters in the media that were actually Scientology agents. Headley's comm lines were further looked into, and confidential information shows that he contacted the following media sources. Okay, and this is very key in these documents. They refer to information that they illegally obtained as confidential, and if they say that it's active or overt information, then that means they obtained it through something publicly that is actionable or able to be used legally on their side. National Enquirer, one call February 13th. So they know I call these people because they have my phone records. National Enquirer, one call February 13th. Star Magazine, 4 calls to Jared Shapiro. Star on 15th February. 2 calls February 16th. There are Star Magazine mentions regarding Tom Cruise and Katie on February 22nd, 24th, and the 27th. At the time when I first started writing these posts on Scientology, a lot of people from the media contacted me. They didn't care about the beatings. They didn't care about people being assaulted in Scientology crimes, but they wanted to know about Tom Cruise. And because I had dealings with Tom Cruise and I could analyze information that they were providing me regarding Tom Cruise, like pictures of people going to and from his house, then I could easily write stories for them. And they paid me very handsomely during this period to do that. And that was sort of like a side hustle that I had going on at the time. So I was calling them and talking to them and emailing them on a regular basis. Whenever I'd see one of the cover stories in the supermarket, I might take a picture or a selfie with the video. And some of these magazines I might even have. Life and Style magazine, one call February 18th, 2 calls February 21st, 1 call February 22nd, 2 calls February 23rd. There is a February 27th Life and Style article titled Split, and Katie's 7 months pregnant, and March 6th articled Secrets of the Split. 2 calls March 7th, and 1 call March 9th. Okay, so yes. I'm not sure exactly on why the calls might mention up with articles. But yeah, okay. That's that. Let's go to the next page. Oh, more. There is a March 27th Life and Style article titled Pregnant and Alone. 1 call April 7th. There's another. It just goes through all these different articles. And then it says St. Pete Times. 2 calls February 24th, 1 call March 10th. Rob Farley recently stated that he had been in touch with a person who blew 2 years ago that provided data about the superpower building. Mark blew 2 years ago, and BFG posted N theta about superpower building and the building. About superpower building and the building. Yes, this is true. N theta. Well, the N theta that I posted was that it was a giant scam and you won't get superpowers. But yes, King World Productions owns Inside Edition. 1 call March 10th. Inside Edition. On March 28th, Headley contacted Tony Coughlin at the Inside Edition. The next day, Corinne Powell received a call from Coughlin talking about the 2004 birthday DVD that he had been shown. Other facts. In the May 11th email from BFG, they used a spy to contact me. To a friend, he stated that he had 3 businesses. In the May 12th posting from Marc Headley to Kevin Popovich, Headley stated that he has 3 businesses. The IP numbers on the blank and the blank are the same and both belong to Charter Communications, which is the service provider that we know Marc uses. Marc has been observed going to Charter, and we know confidentially from comlines that he regular contact with them. I don't know what that would mean, but I don't know why I would be in regular contact with my internet provider, but okay. Oh, and here's another one from D-Line. That's the trash digging or buying. From D-Line, we found a fax sent printouts which show 2 faxes to Life and Style in Englewood, New Jersey on April 20th. There is no indication on the fax itself that this is from the Headley machine. However, the date at the top of these printouts gives the year as 2013. This messed up date matches a fax we have from Claire Headley to a prospective vendor. So they have vendors, Scientologists posing as vendors for our companies. Then they have people that I'm sending emails, giving them the emails so they can match IP addresses. And then they're somehow investigating posts or looking into posts or emails into the IP addresses of those to see if they match up. So they have a lot of phone record stealing, garbage stealing or buying, and spies all over the place. And based on all that, it took them several months to figure out that, yes, I was the person posting on the internet. Okay, so that's the end of that sort of memorandum. And now we get to the proposal. Oh yeah, that's just the end of that last thing. Okay, so that's the end of that. If anybody wants to freeze and read these or look at them or whatever. Okay, now this document takes all of the information that we've learned in all of the spy files up to this point, and it's putting it into a proposal, and this proposal is being sent to David Miscavige. This document is for David Miscavige to read. So we're going to go right and we're going to start and read it. Confidential, attorney-client privileged, 13 May 06, Marc Headley. Situation. It has been confirmed that Marc Headley, they didn't even spell my name right. It has been confirmed that Marc Headley is the anonymous poster blown for good, and that also he is the person who tried to sell the Tom Cruise birthday video to Inside Edition. Data. This in Scientology, this is called a completed staff work. You're supposed to for any proposal in Scientology, whether you want to go see your parents for the weekend and take a leave for 2 weeks or 2 days, or if you want to destroy a suppressive person posting on the internet, you have to write what's called a completed staff work, provide the situation, the data, and the solution, and then that if that's approved, then it's okayed. It's sanctioned in Scientology to be done. Situation is that it's been confirmed that Marc Headley is the anonymous poster blown for good, and that also is the person who tried to sell the Tom Cruise video to Inside Edition. Data. Headley called King World, parent company of Inside Edition, and to Oprah, and spoke to Tony Coughlin at Inside Edition the day before Coughlin contacted us about the Tom Cruise birthday video. Blown for Good, BFG, posted that Inside Edition had spoken to Corinne Powell, who quickly turned the matter of the video over to Mike Rinder. Coughlin must have told Headley about this when he was asking about turning over his identity to Coughlin, was the only one who knew that he had first spoken to Corinne and then to me. Apart from Corinne, Linda Hamill, and Veronique. Okay. I think that Mike Rinder is the one writing this document based on that one little sentence right there. And I haven't read this in a long time, so this is very possible that this is Mike Rinder who's writing this document to David Miscavige. Headley has been in routine contact with tabloid media. I'm just trying to see. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. Here we are. I'm reading a different document that you guys are looking at on the screen, even though it looks like I'm reading that. The day after, Headley has been routine contact with tabloid media. The day after first BFG postings on 14 February 2006, Headley made 4 contacts to Jared Shapiro at Star Magazine. That evening, he also called Arnie Lerma. The following day, Headley made further contacts to Shapiro at Star. On 18 February, Headley started contacting Life and Style magazine, and between 18 and 23 February, he made 6 calls, including one over an hour long. There are stories in these magazines virtually every week that come from insiders and anonymous sources, though nothing has appeared that can be directly attributed to Headley. Headley also made contact with the SP Times on February 24th, though this was three 1-minute calls, so it is likely he was leaving messages, and then had one 8-minute call on 10 March. One of the first postings by BFG concerned superpower, and Farley subsequently wrote an article about this subject, though Headley is not mentioned. He has been in regular comm with Blank and is involved in a business with him. Blank is in comm, that just means in communication with. Blank is in comm with a hardware store in Hemet that has been supplying the base for years. They deliver items to sets and props. It would appear Blank is trying to get data from them about what is happening at the base as they deliver regularly. Oh, would they find out that they were wrong about that? Next page. Other data that indicates BFG is Headley. Okay, now remember, Mike Rinder has already told David Miscavige that Blown for Good is Marc Headley, and David Miscavige basically yelled at Mike Rinder and told him that he was a fool for thinking that and why. And David Miscavige seemed to know everything about this BFG guy and why it couldn't be Marc Headley. Other data that indicates BFG is Headley. And then this goes through the same. This is just a cut and paste of all the stuff that OSA sent to Mike. So we don't need to read any of that. And now it says documented evidence of Headley as BFG. That says it right at the end of the document. And then it talks about the IP addresses of the computers. Okay. And then it has all these other reasons that we covered: charter, life and style. Okay, here we go. This is it. Headley's crimes. This is good stuff. Okay. Headley's crimes. Headley blew the base in January 2005. There is no data on what he took with him when he blew, though he could have downloaded the birthday video onto his hard drive, either from the Avid, that's just an editing machine where videos are edited. They have multiple bays that are called Avid bays. Onto his hard drive, either from the Avid or from the DVD authoring line. Claire blew through 3 weeks later. Neither have done anything on their A to E steps since leaving, despite claims by Claire that they intended to do so, and her stated concern that she wants to be back in communication with her family. Headley sold gold equipment to the tune of $15,490. The amount changes every single time they write it. This was discovered in January 2005, and he blew in the midst of the strings being pulled on this. He sold the equipment without authorization. I did. And transferred the money into his account. It was always in my account. It didn't get transferred anywhere. Most of the money was recovered, about $13,000. There was $1,177.93 unaccounted for. This is a felony grand theft. Okay, now in the part from OSA, it said that there was eBay fees in there. Notice how that gets taken out on the proposal. There's like, no, we're good. We're not going to mention that. Anyway, they says this is a felony grand theft, which is more than $400. With a 3-year statute of limitations. See attached memo, tab B. No police report was made at the time. Headley is in violation of the non-disclosure agreements he signed. Okay, now this is key because they bring up these documents, but to this day, I've never been sent one single thing from Scientology that mentions a non-disclosure document. Never. And because I will tell you, if you are watching this video and you've signed a non-disclosure and release bond with Scientology and you don't have a copy of it, it's pretty much bullshit. If you signed one of these documents and your attorney didn't look at it, if you signed one of these documents and they didn't provide you a copy when you signed it, or you had time to look at it before or after you signed it, and that is why I started posting these things on the internet, is I read something from somebody that says they can't Scientology cannot prevent you from talking about abuses, assaults, or criminal activities that took place when you worked in Scientology. You can't. You can't. You can't make someone not talk about workplace violations, like safety violations, abusive practices, abusive treatment. You can't prevent anyone from talking about those things. If you signed a document, were not given any money, did not have copies of the document, didn't have your lawyer, there's a ton of things that add up to no can do. It's not going to stand up. So they talk about these documents and which ones I signed on which days or which ones, and they quote from them. And there's pages and pages of that. So we're going to skip over those and go to the next one where it says draft lawsuit. So I'm going to leave these up for a second. So if somebody wants to screenshot them and then read them, they can. And then we'll go to the next one. Okay, good. Draft lawsuit. And then it says it summarizes 2 pages of agreements with, he has repeatedly violated these agreements. See list attached. And then they wrote every single post that I wrote on the internet, which they have in soft copy and hard copy. And they isolate each one where I said something about something. Okay, draft lawsuit. A lawsuit has been drafted, which covers the violations of this agreement, as well as the embezzlement. It is not planned to file this lawsuit at this point, though it is totally valid, quote unquote, or parentheses, but to use it as a threat. This is key. A lawsuit has been drafted, which covers the violations of his agreement, as well as the embezzlement. It is not planned to file this lawsuit at this point, though it is totally valid, but to use it as a threat. Now, this is what Scientology does. They threaten. They threaten you with the lawsuit. They threaten you with their deep legal battlefield ammunition, whatever, their arsenal. They threaten you with their deep legal arsenal. They're not doing shit. Okay. They're threatening. They drop a lawsuit that never sees the light of day. Okay. And I don't know if that's attached to this, but I may even show that as well, or I might even just show it as a separate thing. We'll see. Confronting the Headleys. Okay, now this is key because I worked at the international headquarters. I worked with David Miscavige. There's not a bigger motherfucker in all of Scientology than David Miscavige. So if you send some other Scientology lackeys to deal with blown for good, it's got to be powerful. And Mike Render knows that. And he's going to talk about that, I'm pretty sure. Confronting the Headleys. They need to be confronted by someone that they know is serious, not someone they can simply dismiss as quote unquote no threat. At the same time, we do not want them to get an inflated sense of their own importance. Oh, don't worry, Mike. We're all good over here. The people who could do this are Warren McShane, me, Kurt Wieland, Kevin Catano, and Kirsten Catano. Okay, now personally, I'm pretty sure that the only person that could have pulled this off may have been Mike, and that was it. So I like how this is what Mike thinks, but now Mike is gonna be devil's advocate and he's gonna shoot himself down. Mr. McShane is identified directly with COB, and this is not an RTC matter. Warren McShane is a professional liar, and if he came to see me, I would just be like, whatever. I've heard all kinds of stories about how David Miscavige called Warren McShane a porn monkey. So I'm pretty sure that anything he said to me, I would just laugh and I'd be like, did David tell you this in between when you were looking at porn in RTC? I am also identified with COB, and I am known as a senior Scientology official. So I think right now, Mike has just disqualified Mr. McShane, Warren McShane, which Mike has to call Mr. McShane because Warren McShane was in Religious Technology Center and Mike Rinder was in the Commodore's Messenger Organization International, which is below RTC. So Mike has disqualified himself and Warren McShane because they're identified with COB, with David Miscavige. And since this is really a Church of Scientology issue, not a Religious Technology Center issue, it kind of has to be dealt with by CSI. And anybody who's identified as being involved with Religious Technology Center would make this an RTC matter. And then that could involve Religious Technology Center. And if there's a lawsuit, then that could get very messy. Okay. KW, that is referring to Kurt Wieland, is known to Headley as someone who has dealt with many external situations, but would not know his current position. I knew Kurt Wieland was a total flat ball bearing and into trouble, so that wouldn't have worked at all. Then that's what Mike is saying. He wouldn't know that he's a total lackey now, but I knew that everyone there was a total lackey because that was the information that was being fed to me by people that were still there or information from people that were escaping. He is physically intimidating. He's talking about Kurt Wieland. He's a big fatso. Kevin Catano would be on hat, and he is briefed, though he is not very strong. 100% accurate. Kevin Catano is a giant wimp, and I wouldn't listen to a thing he said. Kirsten is also on hat, which means it's her job to deal with suppressives that are leaking stuff onto the internet, but not strong. Also true. Kirsten is a total wimp. She talks a big game in the documents, but she is useless when it comes to actually getting something done. Thus, all of the suppressives, it's her job to make sure there's no suppressives on YouTube. So you can see how well she's doing her job right now. Thus, the best terminal, they call anybody who is a person, they call it a terminal for some reason in Scientology, as like from, it's too much to get into. Anyway, the best terminal, the best person, that's what they mean when they say that. Thus, the best terminal to do this is Kurt, as he also has enough legal savvy not to say something wrong that could be used against us. So basically, the plan is that they are going to try to confront us and like do a ninja surprise sneak attack with this lawsuit and all this stuff. And then that's going to make us stop. And they're going to get into that. Elliot Abelson, Rick Moxon, or Helena could also participate. Helena is weak and has no experience dealing with this sort of cycle. Moxon would be perceived by Headley as not really being serious. We just use the in-house guy. I'm telling you, Mike is spot on this. I would absolutely, if Ken Moxon showed up, I'd be like, what a joke. Elliot is a former prosecutor, and they know he is not a Scientologist. He was directly involved with the prosecution of Henson. He was involved in the TR cycle. Anybody who knows what that means, let me know. I'm not familiar. I probably should have asked Mike, but I didn't read this before. So there you go. TR cycle. I don't know what that means. TR probably stands for some or other sort of leak or some sort of incident that happened. And I can't think of anything with the abbreviations TR. He has dealt with criminal type actions and threats. If he is briefed so that he doesn't say something out of line, he is a present that adds to the equation that we are dead serious. Okay, and that's the end of that document. Okay, how to proceed. Kurt and Elliot see Headley with Claire there. With the evidence in hand, lawsuit and agreement. Go to his house unannounced so that he doesn't have a chance to prepare or get rid of any evidence or contact anyone. Confront Headley with the fact that we know he is blown for good and that he has directly violated the agreements he has signed, and so has Claire, and that we have prepared a lawsuit and are putting him on notice of this fact. We also know that he stole the birthday video and tried to sell it to Inside Edition, theft, and has contacted other media to peddle information that he is precluded from talking about. Show him the draft complaint, but it will not be left with him. And let him know that they are prepared to do what is necessary to secure our rights. And this is going to embroil him in a battle that he cannot win and bankrupt him. Okay, that's a big thing. They try to find out what somebody likes and what somebody doesn't like. And evidently they found out that I like making money and I don't like not having money. These guys are big on the big brains over there at Scientology, Office of Special Affairs. Okay, where do we go? One of his buttons. Oh, it says it right here. One of his buttons is making and having money. He brags about just buying a new Ford Explorer and how he is going to make $1 million this year, and that his 2-month-old baby is registered with ad agencies so he can start earning. I don't know where they got any of this stuff. Or that they can get on with their lives in peace. Oh, that's awesome. Or so that they say it's going to Oh, I see. This is the continuation. Okay, let me just read this because this is going to be the thumbnail. Or the description, and that is going to embroil him in a battle he cannot win and bankrupt him, or they can get on with their lives in peace. So this is right there saying it's going to be a war. We're going to start a war with you. We're going to embroil you in a battle you cannot win and bankrupt you. That's what Scientology is. That's their plan. That's the plan. This means ceasing his activities, withdrawing any outstanding statements he has made to the media, identifying everyone he has communicated with, and getting statements that correct his false reports, get back copies of the DVD and any other materials that they have taken, and get him to sign an agreement that in exchange for not pursuing our claims, he will agree not to disparage or further breach his agreements and will pay back the money he embezzled. Solution: bring Elliot to the international headquarters. Elliot works in Los Angeles with OSA. He doesn't work at the international headquarters. Bring Elliot to INT and brief and drill him and Kurt so that they have the entire approach down cold and have a response to every possible origination and the documents they need. Determine when both Marc and Claire are home and have Kurt and Elliot arrive at their house so there is no forewarning and they cannot prepare or consult with anyone. This is what their plan was. Okay. And then it says memorandum. And then this is just a document from Elliot to Linda that says all the things they want documented legally. Now here, this is great. I mean, I love this. I'm going to read this whole thing, actually. How about that, Scientology? Memorandum to Linda Hamill. Oh, yeah. Linda Hamill. She's in some document or she wrote something recently somebody was talking about. This is Linda Hamill. This is the ruiner of lives lady. Linda Hamill. Headley is in violation of penal code. Embezzlement is the fraudulent appropriation of property to a person whom it had been entrusted. Embezzlement by statute is punishable in the same way that grand theft, a violation of penal code 487, is punished. That punishment is 16 months, 2 years or 3 years in state prison, or up to 1 year in a county jail. To the extent there is any issue of the entrustment of the property to Headley, penal code 487 grand theft is appropriate. This is the equipment. If you didn't watch one of the other videos before Spy Files, this episode, this is equipment that was in a dumpster, in a roll-off dumpster to be thrown away, that I asked not to be thrown away. Instead, I would sell it so that we could use those funds to purchase equipment that I needed for my area, which those had been part of many 20 or 30 years previously, and were being thrown away by Scientology. Okay, the district attorney. Okay, the district attorney, if he agreed to file the charges, would file embezzlement and grand theft as separate counts. There appears to be no advantage to being convicted of one section as opposed to the other. As to the issue of the value of the property, the best evidence would be what he was able to sell the property for, $15,490 on eBay. The fact that he attempted to or did put the money back into our account after he was being investigated would not be a defense. I never put the money in any account other than my own. They stole my account and got all of the info and did whatever they did after I left. I never had a control of the account as soon as they found out that there was $15,000 in it. If the crime were to be reported, the Riverside Sheriff would be the appropriate agency. There would be some concern over the time delay in reporting the crime. However, the statute of limitations for both crimes is 3 years. Now, this is amazing, okay? And this is in a legal document. We have good connections with the Riverside District Attorney who would have discretion in filing the case. They would take into consideration the amount of money at issue, the prior criminal record of the suspect, the method of theft, The strength of evidence and the delay. The fact that this was an inside job, quote unquote, and against a church would work to our advantage. The personal relationship we have with the district attorney is very helpful. This is Scientology, guys. This is how they talk to themselves internally. And then it just says 3 years we have had. That's just sorry, that's the last little paragraph that I just read. And then the next thing is violations of nonstop. It shows all the different documents that they think I signed. And then it has all of the postings that I put on Clambake, and every single one in soft copy, file, dates, post subject, all the different things that I posted. It was a lot of stuff too. I was doing like a data download on all these people and all the stuff that was going down there. And yeah, that is the end of that document. Okay, let's go back to our normal format here. So yeah, this is by the way, what happened? Well, I'll tell you right now, we might, well, you know what? You'll have to find out in the next episode of the Scientology Spy Files. But what we're going to start covering now is, I'm going to have a birthday party. My birthday's in May, and I'm about to have a birthday party. And this proposal, is happening, and they find out, I think after they've done this big proposal, they find out there's a birthday party coming up. And so all the next documents are sort of about the upcoming party, what are we going to do? Who's going to do what? Now, I have pictures of this party. I have all the spy files from the party. I have talked to many of the people at the party. And I'm going to see if I can talk to one other person about the party before I do that video. And I'm going to try to put together as much of the documents as possible. And maybe we'll see. I might even be able to get one of those people on. We'll see. I don't know how that's going to work. But I'm going to try to do these more of these spy files. I know it's been a while since the last episode. So if you're watching these in order, I think the last one I did was probably 2 months before this one, or maybe a month or so before this one. So I'm going to get to doing these on a more regular basis. You should also know that the spy files are going to be coming out on a lot of other SPTV channels. And there's going to be spy files coming out in different countries and different publications from different news organizations. I'm trying to organize this as best as I can with all of the other things that I do. So thank you for watching. Thank you if you watched it all the way to the end of the video here. And we'll see you next time on the next episode of the Scientology Spy Files. Thanks again. Bye.